Welcome back to your hump day guilty pleasure, and welcome to my corner of the multiverse. This is the Salty Goddess Podcast. I am Margaret Perry. So everybody buckle up because we're getting ready to get started about what has made me salty this week. Yep, more jackholes abound, my friends. And honestly, I'm trying to understand where they're all coming from. Like, I don't get it. So we're going to talk about rumors, rumor mills, and false things that people talk about, post about, things of that nature, because I'm trying to understand where some of this stuff is coming from. And I also want to explain to you guys your role in rumor mongering and fear-mongering, if you will. So let's start out with a couple things. First of all, I'm going to start out with posting things that aren't true. Yesterday, I just happened to be scrolling through one of those social media platforms that I use, and someone had posted that they had been in a CPR class recently and learned something that they never knew before. And they go on to list these like 10 or 11 things you should do if you think you're having an MI, a myocardial infarction, or a heart attack. Okay. So it was all bullshit. Seriously. And then I'm reading through some of the comments and somebody goes, "Oh, I remember learning all of this. Thank you for reminding me." I'm sorry, what? They told them to cough when they get suddenly diaphoretic and they're having chest pain, or for women, if they have back pain along the bra line. That's not how women present, by the way. If they've got pain in the center of their back, it's normally their gallbladder. Normally. Understand there's always exceptions to every rule. But there's this tendency, thing, sir, this is not accurate. And I happen to know for a fact there is no way a certified CPR instructor told you this bullshit. But everybody's out there lapping it up like it's the latest ice cream flavor. What? What is wrong with y'all? Please, you have got to be more discerning than that, my friends. Okay? I get it. Somebody is speaking from a position of confidence, and it looks to be helpful, and it seems like a kind thing that they're doing. All they did was copy paste some bullshit from somebody else. They didn't learn that in any class. There's no way. There's no way. Okay. I know this. Friends, I've been a CPR instructor on and off for over 15 years, maybe longer than that. 20 years, maybe longer than that, even longer than that. No one has taught anybody that crap, that coughing every second during the time in which you think you're having an MI, that this will save your life. Or that in 10 seconds of you becoming diaphoretic, you will lose consciousness. What? We know a lot of people who have had chest pain for days before they call for an ambulance. And we pick them up and have to take them directly to the cath lab. People, please. It's great. I'll tell you what, you could have copied those 10 things this individual said and simply put it in any AI. I'm not even going to name them because I don't know if there's copyright issues if I talk about it, but you could have put it in any AI and said, "Is this true? Is this taught in CPR classes? Is this taught in certified CPR classes for the healthcare provider?" What? And they would have told you. So when I was growing up, my daddy had a little thing. "Don't trust anybody" was one of his sayings. And the other thing was, if it's coming from someone that you do trust but verify. Trust but verify. Friends, before you start reposting or commenting or sharing or any of that crap, please try to verify whether or not it's true. Please. I beg of you. And so the reason why I bring this up is because sharing inaccuracies or misinformation on a social media platform or with your friends, if maybe your social media platform is playing poker on Friday with your friends, or euchre, or going bowling, or playing Dungeons and Dragons or fantasy football. I don't give a shit what you do. Friends, don't spread misinformation. Okay, please. And don't, whatever you do, don't pick up something and say, "Oh, I learned this in a class," or I learned this from a cardiologist, or this, that, or the other thing. Please don't try to bolster your bullshit with the credentials of someone else, because at the end of the day, it's still bullshit. Okay. Now that brings me to rumors, the rumor mill. All right. So let's get started with that whole thing. I know that you all played a game of telephone when you were in school at some point, right? So the teacher whispered in someone's ear at the beginning of the line, and each person repeated going down the line. And by the time you got to the last person in the line, whatever was said by the teacher to the first student is not what came out of that last student's mouth. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. And that is the rumor mill. That's part of it. That's one part of it. The second part of it is you have to ask yourself a few questions when you start to hear someone acting like the damn town crier and speaking about someone and starting that rumor mill, starting, rumor mongering, gossiping. It's all the same thing. Okay. Why are they doing it? There has to be a motivation behind why someone is doing it. And oftentimes, someone repeats rumors and gossip for one of a few reasons. One, they are intimidated by the individual and fear that you will get to know them, understand them, learn about them, and realize that they have these great accomplishments or education or motivation and drive. And it makes that individual that's telling you the gossip feel like they don't, measure up. So they don't want you to see this individual as being better than them. So they fear the outcome of you learning truths about this individual. Does that seem like that's coming from a place of honesty, honor, integrity, friendship? Because it doesn't appear that way to me. Other individuals who take part in the rumor mill, their goal is to actually be injurious to the person they're speaking about. For whatever reason, they don't get along with this individual, and they would do anything in their power to make sure that everyone else thinks less of them. And they choose to be injurious to that individual's reputation and standing. Again, not coming from a place of honor, honesty, and integrity. And you must ask yourself, is that the kind of person I would want in my circle, who would come from a place that's dishonest, dishonorable, and lacking integrity? I would say no, you don't want them in your inner circle. Third, maybe they're not mature enough. There are individuals out there who never progress beyond being 14 years of age mentally. Do you know what I mean? And I am not discussing with you right now anything like developmentally delayed. I'm talking about individuals who don't have emotional maturity. They're narcissists, truly, okay? Gaslighters, that kind of shit. So just know and understand that if there is an individual who is sharing information with you and it's of a gossip type quality, you have to start questioning why that individual is giving you that information that way. Now, that's not to say that a mentor, a close friend, a colleague who's looking out for you may not give you a warning about an experience they've had with an individual. They may have information that you would say, listen, I know you're thinking about collaborating with this individual on a project or on a financial endeavor or anything of that nature. And they may share information with you. Now, that's different, right? But so that would fall under that trust but verify situation, okay? Just know that sometimes individuals have had experiences that it would concern them to promote that individual into a position that would then leave you, in a bind somewhere. That's not to say that individuals don't share information, because they do. It is important to share information. But sharing of information and being honest about where that information has come from. So let's just say I'm speaking to someone and we're discussing a project, and this individual says, hey, I think I'm going to talk to Mr. XYZ to see if they could collaborate with me on this project. Maybe I've received information, or maybe I've had an experience with Mr. XYZ that would require me to say to this other person, hey, listen, my experience with this individual was this. So be cautious. All right. Or I would say, I heard that Mr. XYZ failed to do this, or was unable to do that, or was a poor communicator, didn't meet deadlines, things of that nature. I would then state to person ABC, just so you know, that wasn't my personal experience. This was told to me by a second or third party. I cannot verify with any level of accuracy what was told to me, but I would be remiss if I didn't share that with you. That's a different situation altogether. So honest communication, not injurious communication. And sometimes it's difficult to discern between those. So maybe you need to ask questions. Was that your personal experience? Did you get that second or third hand? Were you able to verify that? Can you verify that? Those are important questions to ask. Because sometimes when you're looking at that rumor mill, things are said because that person repeating the rumor, repeating the gossip, it's not coming from a great place. So what do? Do you listen to that rumor and then decide that Mr. XYZ should be ostracized simply because of what you heard and you didn't experience it? I would tell you that I believe that the person that shares rumors without absolute first-person experience is a coward. But I dare say the person that listens to that rumor, knowing full and well it's a rumor, and abides by it, is even more weak and cowardly than the individual that said it in the first place. Because on what planet and what corner of the multiverse does someone else get to tell you what your opinion is of someone or something? What? No, that's not how this works. And if you submit to that, you are allowing someone else, and potentially an untruth, to rule how you handle your business. That's ridiculous. Absolute ridiculousness. What is wrong with y'all? That's craziness. Ain't no way someone else is going to give me my opinion. Ain't no way I'm not going to go out and figure out whether something is accurate or not. I owe that to myself. Never mind that I also owe it to the other person. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I get it. 15 years ago, Mr. XYZ made mistakes, right? Or Ms. ABC made mistakes. Does that mean that 15 years later, they're the same person? Maybe they are. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't attempt to find out if they are still that same jackhole they were 15 years ago. I know I'm not the same jackhole I was 15 years ago, and I was a jackhole at times. I was very narrow-minded, thought I knew everything. Well, imagine the shock when you find out you don't. And trust me, y'all, you don't. We don't know everything. Even today, I don't know everything. I know a lot more than I did 15 years ago, but I still don't know everything. And anybody who can't own up to that is a jackhole. You're an idiot because there ain't no way. It's that simple. So I would say that this is probably one of the most important rules I wish that I had learned early on, very early on. And just know this, if this individual feels comfortable talking rumors to you about a third party, you should suspect that they are also speaking about you in the same way. Because most individuals don't do this just one time. Okay? It's true. So they're probably doing the same thing about you. This is why your circle needs to be super tight, super tight. You don't share all your personal things with anybody unless they're in that inner circle. And people don't get into that inner circle easily. I remember many years ago, my dad telling me, "Oh, how many friends do you think you got?" And I was like, "Oh, I've got like 20 or 30. No, you don't. And I looked really shocked. I was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You'll be lucky if you can count on one hand and fill all that hand with your close friends. You'll see. The rest are acquaintances. You'll have a few that are close that you'll share things with, that you should be sharing things with." And of course, as per the usual, my daddy knew, and he was 100% correct. Not everyone that sits at your table is there celebrating with you. You know, because you'll learn that when you're not at the table, they don't always defend you. They don't always speak for you, speak up for you. When someone else comes to the table and goes, "I don't really like Anne Margaret." And if everyone stays silent, but when they're with you, they behave as if they're your close friend, they're really not. Some individuals don't know how to be a good friend. They don't know how to do things the right way with integrity. Why they don't know, I'm unsure. It's one of those mysteries I'll never understand. But just know that. So I would ask all of you to think about what you've shared about a third party, or even what you've shared even on social media where you just, click that share button and what you see you think is accurate and you don't ever verify. I will also tell you that I think that behavior is very lazy, very lazy. We should know better than to just take things at face value and repeat them as if they are fact when we don't know that they are. That really, really gets under my skin. And it makes me salty. Okay? It's also easy to leave out parts of situations so that you can skew the narrative, the perspective. And I was actually explaining this to somebody once, not too long ago, about, hold on while I take a little drink here. There was a picture published of a high profile individual. And the picture was taken from the right-hand side of this individual. And their hand was in the air. And so from the right, it looked like this. Like they were sticking up their middle finger. For those of you that can see this on video, those of you that can't see on video, just know that it looked like they were throwing somebody the bird. There was a second photo taken at about the exact same time. And that individual was actually holding up 3 fingers, the pinky, the ring, and the middle finger. But if you are only looking at the perspective from the right-hand side, it looked like they were throwing the bird. This individual was responding to the fact that they now had 3 children. And the person he was speaking to was directly in front of him. So when he held up his hand, he held up 3. I can't believe I've got 3 now. I'm a dad of 3. But the perspective from the side was that he was throwing somebody the bird, the middle finger, the F-U, the old F-U. I want you to think about that for just a moment and understand that it is not difficult for people to slant the perspective, the narrative, to make things sound like that's the only perspective there is, or that their perspective is the accurate one. Okay? And we should probably be teaching this to children early on. It would help them be more discerning as they're aging. It might even give them a, dare I say, perspective and a coping skill to deal with adversity or deal with, conflicting stories and things of that nature. So I know that it's easy to get riled up, to get emotional, to feel rage, but take a step back and look and see if you're getting every single perspective or just what this individual wants you to get. We have to be more discerning, okay? And this is what I mean by that, right? So not everybody likes steak and eggs for breakfast. Not everyone likes, smoked Gouda cheese. Not everyone likes tiramisu. I mean, I don't understand why you wouldn't like tiramisu because it's like my favorite. But that's okay. From my perspective, that's kind of weird because I think tiramisu is phenomenal. But there are individuals out there that don't like it. So do we just incorporate someone else's beliefs or feelings about it? I even break it down further by talking about parents who only cook the foods that they like when they're raising their children, thereby literally not exposing their children to different flavors, different tastes, different textures. And children get to a certain age and then all of a sudden they don't want to try new foods. So think about that for a moment. Okay? I don't want that kind of experience. Don't give me that kind of experience. Just no. I don't want it. Don't give it to me. I don't want it. I want to try things and see if I like them or see if I don't like them. And I want to make that decision as to whether or not it tastes good to me or it is good for me. All right? That's important that we don't just take someone else's, comments. Because the truth is, if you don't have all of the information, if you don't have it all, how are you making an accurate assessment? You can't. Just like if a patient comes into my clinic and they give me partial information, I cannot define an appropriate care plan for them if I don't have all the details. Therefore, my deductions are flawed, and so are yours. And I'm talking about healthcare. And I tell patients, I tell them, just listen, I won't judge you. I don't care. I just need to know so I can treat you. You're still smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day? That's okay. I wish you'd quit, but I need to know. Okay? You're having difficulty sleeping at night, but you're drinking 3 pots of coffee a day, but you don't want to tell me you're drinking 3 pots of coffee because I've already kind of counseled you to tell you 3 pots of coffee is too much. Or those energy drinks, again, they remain nameless, so I don't get in any trouble. But you get what I'm saying, right? If you aren't telling me the whole picture, I cannot give you an accurate or an appropriate treatment plan for what's going on with you. So you have to know all the details to be able to deduce properly what's going on. And that's true for any decision-making process you have about pretty much anything, right down to the vehicle you purchase. Chevrolet, GM is always good in my book. Okay. Down to the home that you're going to purchase, the job you're going to take, the friends you're going to keep in your inner circle, the associates you'll collaborate with, and things of that nature. You have to have all the details. And I'm going to tell you, you should be collecting data, accurate data, okay? Not someone else's opinion or someone else's feelings. Feelings are not data, all right? You may not be everyone's double shot of whiskey. And this individual, Mr. XYZ, may not be everyone's double shot of whiskey, but they might be yours. And that's okay. Ms. ABC might not be your cup of tea, but they might be for me, if that makes sense. So you have to be able to make those assessments. This is part of being an adult. This is part of learning how to interact with your fellow man. Okay? Now, friends, I will say this. If your parents tell you, you're like 12 or 13, and your parents say, listen, be careful who you're hanging out with. I don't know if I get caught hanging out with so-and-so. They might know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two. And it's their job to keep you safe. It's also their job to let you explore your environment and learn to make decisions on your own and learn that your decisions have consequences, right? That's all part of autonomy. It's all part of growing up. It's all part of learning about who you are. Parents, keep that in mind, okay? You don't have to make every decision for your kid. They need to learn there are consequences. They need to develop the ability to traverse obstacles, barriers, okay? But don't allow a rumor to be a barrier to, introducing yourself or learning about another person. Because 9 times out of 10, rumors are just bullshit lies because the other person is not comfortable with another person's success. Sometimes that rumor might be accurate for them, but it might not be accurate in your relationship with that person. Okay? So this is all part of that whole growing up kind of thing and learning how to work with individuals, learning how to be around individuals, learning how to make assessments, not just medical assessments, but assessments of someone's quality, of assessment of their qualities and their character. Okay. And I'll be honest with you. Sometimes, friends, you'll make shitty decisions. You'll make shitty assessments. You'll think somebody's totally cool, right? But they're not. It's all part of learning. It's all part of experiencing life. It's all part of growing up. But at the end of the day, one thing you definitely shouldn't do is submit to someone else's opinions. Find out for yourself. Figure it out and make those decisions for yourself. Okay? That's important. So at the end of the day, it's all on you. You get to decide. You'll find out whether or not you got the spine for it or not. And I hope that you do. And I appreciate y'all joining me this week for your hump day guilty pleasure. This is the Salty Goddess Podcast. Stay salty, stay savage. All right. And be sure to follow me, download, subscribe, and check out the Salt Vault, where we're going to be giving you some checklists to determine all kinds of things about your life to help you navigate adulthood. We'll see you next week for your hump day download. I'm Margaret Perry.